Obviously, I guess all of us thought Spectre was a rather fine James Bond movie before this year, New Year's Eve came up and we learned for the better. And I'm pretty sure that quite a few of you will be heading to Davos, to the World Economic Forum, right after this year's DLD, like it always is, right? And the World Economic Forum usually puts out a global risks report just before the forum starts. And when they asked business leaders from all over the world what their perceived biggest risk is in the year 2018, they said, well, it's cybersecurity. And the danger is even being expected to grow even further. We have, I mean, those numbers are always a little bit different, but we have 8.6 billion connected devices right now out there in the world, and up until 2020, which is right around the corner, it will be 20 billion. And we have expected costs of a cloud shutdown. If any cloud provider is being attacked and the cloud breaks down, it will cost between 80 billion and 120 billion dollars, which is the number you could slap on the damage a hurricane like Katrina or Sandy will, well, face upon the people that are hit by it. So it's an important topic, and I'm really pleased to be able to discuss this with such an esteemed panel. Commissioner Gabriel, thank you for your speech, so there is no need for an introduction there. And I'm sure most of you guys in the auditorium, now the others too, but still, I guess quite a few words about the panelists are in order. Dreo, you are a director of the Research Institute Code here in Munich, which is the abbreviation for Cyber Operations Defense. And that's one of the biggest cyber research centers in Europe. And of course, you are a professor at the Universität der Bundeswehr, something you can translate actually. Welcome to our panel.
Thank you.
And of course, you can hand an applause on her also. We are really glad that she's here. Hello, Gabi.
Thank you.
Reinhard Ploss, you didn't have to travel far also, since you are the CEO of Infineon since 2012 for 5 years by now. And I learned that your company shipped already 20 billion security controllers just to control this danger we are facing in the Internet of Things. And Arne Schönbohm, who is a good friend of a former colleague of mine, he is president of the Federal Office for Information Security, which sounds much better than Bundesamt für Sicherheit in der Informationstechnik.
BSI Bonn is fine.
Right. So welcome to you all. And let's just start with a question for Mr. Ploss and you, Dreo. Companies that are located in risk areas, they usually have response plans for extreme weather conditions and stuff like that. And that's rarely the case for cyber attacks, actually. And research suggests that only 1/3 of companies have prepared for a major cyber attack. First of all, is that true, and why is that so, Mr. Ploss?
Well, first of all, for our company, we take quite some effort in order to, I wouldn't compare it, let's keep the comparison to weather. In order to protect yourself, what do? You have a weather forecast. So what you need in cybersecurity, you have a kind of a system in order to have an attack forecast. Of course, this is not one-to-one, but maybe there is another company who has experienced one. So you should get knowledge about this and how to detect it and to prevent it quickly. So with this is one part where we already built up a certain organization being engaged there. On the other side, yes, of course, while you do not train the recovery that you shut off your company and shut it on again, on the other side, we take quite some effort in order to be prepared for a quick return on again after an attack. So, but again, you have to see the attack in order to recover. So I would say there is a lot of people who are not so much aware of, but being in the high-tech area and being, this is one business which is our core business, we are very well aware and we take the due measures. On the other side, from my point of view, why don't we have an institution who cares for the weather forecast of IT security? Here, a lot can be done and be supported on a political and cooperative level on industry plus politics, but not on industry alone.
Okay. Before I ask Mr. Schönbohm if he should be this weather forecaster for cyber attacks, Gabriel, what's your take on it?
Well, I'm taking it from the research perspective, and from the research we are absolutely doing to detect, to develop approaches and concepts to detect, good detection, to have a risk mitigation analysis, and then to make automated response. And we learned a lot today and yesterday about KI, automated machine learning, and so on. We are using this. We are using this to automate detection, to make it better, and to make the risk analysis better, and also then the automated response to see, because the world is complex. So we need to use such like machine learning and artificial intelligence to make better response and detection.
Okay, and that's happening in corporate reality right now as we speak, or is it some perceived future?
It is more the research area still, but of course, at our cluster, cyber cluster at the University of Munich, we have certainly the point to break the research to the industry, to the products. So we are tend here really to speed development of products.
Anna Schönbohm, do you think you could be, or rather should be, a forecaster of cyber attacks, or that any other government agency could be able to do that?
First of all, you have to understand, we're having out there 600 million programs regarding malicious code, 600 million. We identify day by day 280,000 new programs getting out there. 280,000 per day. So, sorry, this is not just a weakness or something. We have a quality problem. And I don't know whom of you have been driven here by an autonomous driving car.
Not so many, I guess.
I didn't, unfortunately. But if you think about it, we are not yet living in a digitized world, and we already have this kind of big challenges we are facing currently. And to create a kind of weather forecast, the issue of spectra, for example, had already been told during a conference 2 years ago. 2 years ago. It was possible and available. So this is something where we have to work on our quality regarding how to react on this one, and to discuss also issues like cybersecurity by design. And honestly, we are all speaking about digitization here, but how often do you think about information security as a precondition regarding digitization? No one. And I think this is something where we really have a challenge, not just the big companies, but especially the small and medium-sized companies, the startups we are thinking about. And this is an issue where the government is supporting very strong.
The private consumer also, right?
Yes.
People don't update their phones, their computers.
In Cologne, I mean, it's a nice city in Germany, in Cologne, a MediaMarkt store. They sold 2 issues of smartphones which are not able to protect because it had been already run out of the update policy of the manufacturer. Does anyone of you buy a kind of smartphone because for security reasons? No, you just buy it because it's hip, it's nice and so on, and you have no possibility to choose if I use a more secure phone or a less secured phone. And this is something we are going to change.
Right, people just don't know, right? The average customer, he gets into the store and picks the phone that's a fit for him, like price-wise or design-wise, right? Security doesn't play a role at all. So one more question to you before I lead to the commissioner back again. is this something we should address as a nation, like as a German nation fighting cyber attacks? Or is it something we really have to address on a European or maybe rather global basis?
So first of all, I think the Commission made a proposal regarding the cybersecurity strategy. I think it is very good to go into the details there. If we think about Europe, it's always a challenge when we are speaking about ENISA. That's our pendant on the European level. It's located in Greece with 85 employees, 85. So I think we really have it. This is really a challenge. And just the BSI in Bonn is having 850 employees, and we are growing quite strongly. I think we should do what we can do on a nationwide basis, but we should harmonize regarding, like for example, with the C5 standard regarding cloud technologies, standardization and certification. This is something where we should go in the forehand on a nation state, like for example on autonomous driving, and then implement it on the European level. And I think this is a very good way of cooperating it.
A question for the audience. Which one of you knows the abbreviation ENISA? Hands up. Ever heard of ENISA? Well, you don't count. So was that like...
He's the chairman, so he knows it.
Like 1 or 2? I mean, that's the European Agency to Fight Cyber Terror, right? Based in Heraklion, Crete.
Athens.
Is this the right answer to the threat we face, or what can we do there?
Not only. For sure, now talking about ENISA, I would like to say that very clearly. For the first time, we make a very clear political message, because do you know that it was the only one European agency with temporary mandate? How to convince people, enterprises, industries that it's a priority, a long-term priority for us. So now, for the first time, into our proposal tabled in September 2017, this agency, ENISA, will have a permanent mandate with more budget, with more human resources.
Okay.
Enough to be, for the moment, useful. On the other side, I would like to raise one issue. Definitely, we need to have more cyber literacy in Europe. It's not only for national or regional level, it's for EU level. That's why I will launch 6th of February an EU-wide information campaign to make all our children, parents, students more cyber educated. I think that definitely for whole the year, the next 1 year, it will be great if we can join us, just how to show how with very concrete, very simple steps you can be more secure. That's one of the main issues for me. We definitely need more information on that, because our figures are really alarming. 90% of cyber attacks are due to human errors or unknown things. On the other side, 80% of our enterprises said they are victims of cyber attack once per year, and definitely we need to do something more. But only by working together we can achieve results.
Okay, and does this day have a special name so that it can resonate when we hear it again?
Safer Internet Day.
Safer Internet Day, okay. And this will be a European Union-wide thing in every member state?
In every member state, together with safer internet centers, then we have at European Commission, together with companies, we had a lot of, and we are looking for ambassadors. For me, that will be a great signal for all of us, that we can really strengthen the resilience of Europe on that issue, but only by making a huge campaign, at least, because we have some other very concrete proposals, not only the mandate of ENISA, but certification framework, or another important mechanism for me, it's, blueprint. Do you know what does it mean, blueprint, in the European Commission? No, I know, but it's a European coordination mechanism in the case of large-scale cyber attacks. Because today there is a huge challenge in front of us. If you ask the question, who is doing what in case of this kind of attacks, we don't have a clear answer. That's why we put our proposal on the table, and we are waiting for member states and industries to make it operational. Okay. And we need really to have more concrete steps next month.
I'm glad you brought this certification thing up. Of course, we can't elaborate on that one on a really technical basis, but it's too important to just skip it. And of course, here we go again. It's the question, do we certify on a national basis or on a European basis? And you're stepping on many toes there, I guess. So this is a question for Mr. Ploss and you. Is the approach we are taking to certify things on a European basis the better one? Or is this certificate one thing that is maybe important, but in the daily life of the user probably not the most important at all? Mr. Ploss, let's start with you and then the answer by the Commissioner, please.
Yeah, my question is, we expect from small and medium enterprises, from the average consumer, a high competence when we talk. We have to increase IT security, what they should do. My idea for Europe is that we can establish a system which provides an architecture, an ability of ease of use, like you would switch on a smartphone, that you don't think about IT security, it comes along with it. So because I think otherwise everybody has to have its own IT security manager at home at the end of the day. Think of hundreds of devices in your home, how to manage. This is impossible, but this offers an opportunity. Now I come to certification. Yes, of course we need certification because the base of trustful devices is certified device, is certified environment. But IT security is like playing an orchestra. If you have a well-tuned violin and I would say flute, you still need a conductor that it fits together. And I think we have to think about how Europe can provide. I think here is the internet is a good comparison. We have an ICANN. You like it or not, but you do not key in 192.168. You key in, for instance, google.com. So, and why not having similar things in Europe? Why not having an ease of use concept where all the brain trust is behind? So that is something where we have to go to. Otherwise, the digital will come, security will lack. Why not accelerating both?
That's something you could put your signature on, I guess. I mean, not really controversial, right?
Yeah,
it would be nice to have.
That's why in our proposal we put this certification framework on voluntary base, because we don't want to abolish national certification, but we would like really to initiate the process at EU level, because in our proposal we would like just to have a mechanism who can really has as a result a European certification framework, but that depends on ENISA, on industries, and as you can see in our proposal, we left the door open for some more binding measures, but that depends on the industries, and that's for me the strength of our European approach, because sometimes really we don't need to regulate before that industries or stakeholders want to do it.
Right.
But for us what is important, it's really that on one side we would like to make a clear signal for citizens. They would like to know what is the level of security on their products. On the other side, really less administrative burden, less financial cost, and to give the possibility for one industry, when the certificate is valuable for one country, to be for whole European territory. That's for me another concrete step forward.
But just one addition, why not thinking about a private-public partnership which provides a system where these certificates can be used for the better, but it is, I trust you, and you may trust me because we know each other to a certain degree. But how can we think about a digital environment where nobody knows each other and each machine should talk to another one? So isn't it an opportunity to provide an architecture of ease of use and the means of knowing each other, or identify those which you shouldn't use better not?
I agree. I would like just to raise the issue of the budget, because public-private partnership, now we have it on cybersecurity as European Union. It's 1.8 billion. And do you know what is the investment of United States for the last 1 year? 19 billion. So for me, what will be important, we have an ambition as European, and on the other side, really to make it more secure on the financial side.
Right, and there is some sense of urgency, I mean, maybe missing. I'm not really surprised, Anne Schönbohm, that you wanted to chimp in on this certification and standards issue.
No, just to be very clear for the audience also, we already have certification schemes. So certification is nothing new, let's say, jumping out of the box. We have SOGES MRA, which is started by the European Commission in '95, which had been renewed. It's a success story. And I think just instead of always doing something new, probably we should just enable the existing issues to become more professionally, to become quicker, to become better. And for example, regarding certification, just as an example, because sometimes, big organizations like the European Union are not always very quick and eager and flexible and agile, what we need in a digitalized world. So, for example, Germany and France created together a C5 standard for cloud services which are audited, and this is a big success story. Even Alibaba, even Amazon, even Dropbox, even Microsoft and so on, they use this kind of certificate because it's much better to sell to the end customer because they have a different kind of level of, let's say, information security. And I think this is the key. So what is the success? And to bring it, to increase the success with existing bodies. And I think that's why I think, for example, the SOGES MRA, common criteria evaluation, is a success story. And this is something we should enable instead of creating something new, which is just putting down the brake.
We don't want to create something new, but we would like really to build on an MRA and try to transfer it at EU level, though definitely for us there is no will to forget what is one of our success stories.
Great.
So let's focus, shift gears a bit, and let's focus on what German companies are actually doing right now to fight cyber terror. There is some sort of joint venture, if you will, to fight cyber terror. It was, the foundation was laid by BASF, Bayer Volkswagen Allianz, the German cybersecurity organization, and more members are on board, BMW, Daimler, ThyssenKrupp, Infineon, I guess, also. But the funny thing is, when you do some research on this DCSO, not quite a few people more may know this abbreviation than ENISA, but still, if you do research on that, you basically find one story that in 2 years, they had 3 CEOs, which, well, for me, being a former business journalist, doesn't look too good to me when it comes to a really good leadership model, actually. So, Gabriel, what do you think is going on there? Is this the right approach, or can we do something better than DCSO?
Well, I cannot judge DCSO or what is the problem, but I think cybersecurity needs a cooperation between public, private, and of course research and development. We need clusters, we need cyber clusters, where as a research are working together along the whole supply chain. For example, we have such great researchers here in Europe, great universities, but if you see at the end of the product market, IT, security, digital, we are not here the 5 leading companies. Why is this? So we need to strengthen exactly this cooperation between research, innovation, and products. And so we are, for example, proposing here or building a cyber cluster in Munich out. It would be one of the largest in Europe because we see that we have to invest. We have to invest a critical mass, 11 new chair positions, but a lot of money to get labs, to get people educated. I think that's the point for all Europe. We need to strengthen all Europe to build clusters and to make Europe resilient. And we all, maybe this is one point about the cyber clusters.
And this is really expensive, right? I mean, what you're talking about is like $1 billion euros a year or something?
It is expensive, but we are talking about our digital society,
right,
about our future.
But
Should we invest in our future?
But there is not one single word about cybersecurity in this Sondierungspaper of our
No, that's not true. Sorry, that's not true. Page 16 and 17. So.
Okay, but not that much.
I know.
Okay, but it's not really convincing. I mean, whatever. I overlooked it. I apologize. It's no sense of urgency in this paper. Let's agree on that one. So. What you would like to see is those cyber clusters, a lot of money, but you don't really get a hold of a political will behind it, right, in Germany.
It's not true. The Ministry of Federal Defense, for example, they're investing a lot in the cyber cluster, and I think that's the right way. We need to invest because really said this is our digital future, and if we don't invest in a critical mass, not just here one postdoc position and here a new computing system, but really invest. Then we can have something like a cyber Airbus. We said in aircraft there was just Boeing, and then the Europeans said, okay, we need something like competition. Why not to do it now exactly on the digital cyberspace? I think it's no time.
Yeah, that there is a real political will to do that, and we have a concrete proposal because in September we proposed the creation of national centers of competence and excellences. Our objective is really to pool all these expertise because yes, our experts are here, but they don't like to work for Europe for the moment. Let's be very honest. That's why next month in February we'll launch a pilot project, 50 million euro under Horizon 2020, to see how these centers can really be operational. But that's the aim, really to invest in technologies, in our expertise, and to pool all those talents and to make Europe more stronger at that field.
Mr. Schönbohm to the rescue of German politics.
No. But it's a challenge, so no. But when we're always looking to Israel regarding digitalization, right? And then we are focusing on the hotspot of Beersheba. Why? Because there we have national institutions like the Israeli Defense Forces, which are doing their cybersecurity. We have science labs like Deutsche Telekom, which are having their science institutions, universities, and we are having big companies. And I think it's extremely important what Gabi has just said. We are having these kind of clusters also in Germany, but we have to sell it differently. In Bonn, I mean, we are Munich. Munich is one cluster, very sure, but for example, Bonn, we have the BSI, we have the German Defense Forces there, the Kommando Sur, which is there. We have the Deutsche Telekom there. In a wider area, we have Vodafone there. We have 1&1 in Montabaur. We are having big also institutions regarding science, so we are having these kind of clusters, and I think we should lever it. And one thing in addition, I think it will be a miscalculation to say governments will drive digitization. Digitization will happen. Bosch, Continental, the big companies and the small and medium-sized companies, and you all here, you will drive digitization. And we will have to give some kind, let's say, of regulations saying in what kind of way are we going to digitize, what kind of risk appetite are we going to accept, yes or no. And this is the core issue regarding governments, but not driving the whole area of digitization. This should be done from the business society, from you all, because you have bright minds, you're having great ideas, you should do it. And that's exactly the way we are moving forward with the NIS regulation and the IT security law in Germany, and I think that's a good way forward.
But is it an advantage or a disadvantage for US companies that are in the cybersecurity business that they are very much connected to the government in Washington, D.C. and supported and that there are many persons of the government working in those companies also? Is that a disadvantage? No.
I mean, that's what the companies will have to evaluate, right? But I think there's a very close cooperation, for example, in China with companies, in Russia with companies, in the US with companies. And I think European governments are not so close with the companies because there we are having a different legal framework. But it's from each company to evaluate if it is making sense or not. But to protect also the American companies, just think about the recent legal case where an American company is fighting against the US government to give some data to the court. And I think this is very important to understand also. They are built up also cloud services from US companies here within Germany, within Europe, to say, because then we are acting in a different kind of legal frame. And I think that's exactly what the future will be, so that you try to establish data protection and all the other different kind of issues.
But the European governments should support European industry.
Yeah, of
saying
course.
for the industry to
course.
say, we are buying just products where privacy or security by design is in the product itself.
And they're not doing enough there, right? I mean,
think
that's
can do
for
more.
sure. And Mr. Ploss, obviously, when we're talking about money and investment by companies into cybersecurity, from what I learned, usually companies invest in something that they can earn money on that afterwards. So isn't there somewhere a business model to be found, especially for your company also, that makes more investment into cybersecurity worthwhile?
Well, we see quite some effort in cybersecurity when it comes to autonomous driving. So the people, the car companies, the tier ones are aware of the risk, and the overall architecture for the car and the system behind is considered there. Because they come from the consumer expectation, the consumer are used with the car that they can rely on. You go there, it starts, it runs, and it runs where it should be. I think I think most of the companies are definitely considering the risk and invest against the risk, even though there is not a direct return, but the risk prevention. Can be done more on that side. When we talk about what Mr. Schönbohm said, that there are a lot of devices in the field which have no cyber security, at all. They are not, I would say, incentivized to do it. When this very funny story about the puppet which you have at home and you can remotely look into the kids' plays, so for that is, why should they do? And I think this would be an opportunity for Europe in order to increase various levels, the high security level for infrastructure, and those security levels which you have to fulfill in order to deliver into Europe. And Europe is a large place and a lot of consumers, so you can create a quasi-standard, and those who do not think in these terms may be invited. And I think that the certification and maybe the orchestration by ENISA, which I think we have a lot, just put it in place, enable, enforce it. And you ask about US, or we talked about Russia and China. Well, we are a little bit more federal as Europe, but the invitation could be a little bit more stronger to cooperate on the various levels. And we have instruments, and you talked about the budget. I expect Europe is spending more money because it has to, and not to fall back, and uses the opportunity to create an industry of a high-level IT security reliability. This, I would say, for the average person in Europe, that it can be, I would say, to a certain degree, trust that they are safe.
Let's assume we have the money, we invest it, we get a grip on it. Do we have the people to do it, Professor Dreo? I mean, you're educating students that should be able to fight in a cyber war, if you will. But are there enough, and what to do about it?
Well, I'm educating IT talents, right, to lead at the edge of the research and to fight against this, but they are not enough, that's true. But you need excellent research to get excellent people and excellent edge education there. And we should do more, absolutely. And maybe also thinking cybersecurity from the other perspective. In case you see, we always talked how much attacks do we have. Every company is attacked by an attack. The point is, shouldn't we turn the way around and say, not defending, which is difficult because you have to defend all vulnerabilities, and the attacker just have to use one, and to say, how about making it harder for the attackers? So, for example, like moving target defense, where you irritate attackers and make it the system itself more resilient, and turn the race round. But therefore, we need excellent people, excellent educated people, right?
But probably the German pool isn't big enough. So what to do about that? So I mean, we should think more about Bulgaria, for example, or Romania, or Greece, or Spain, or what have you, right?
Absolutely. We have to spread the area, European anyway, and also from the other areas of the world to come the people here. We heard yesterday from Tim Höttges that he won a really good CTO from, I think, South Korea. We have a great place to work here. And I can say, for example, applying 11 professorships in computer science and data machine learning and so on, we got the best one. Why? Because we can offer space, we can offer possibilities to research the environment, the labs. And I think that's attractive. We have to be attractive.
Commissioner Gabriel.
Definitely we need to do more, because for me digital competencies and skills are really the top priority. As I already said, some of our figures are really alarming, because do you know that 80 million of Europeans has never used internet? And only 37% of our labor force has a basic digital competencies, and we are talking here for very advanced digital skills. So we really need to stay mobilized at EU level, at national, at civil society. From our side, as European Commission, I'd like just to give you an example. 1 month ago, I launched a new initiative. It's Digital Opportunity. That will be operational in June 2018, but we would like to offer the possibility for students, for between 5,000 and 6,000 students in Europe, to make a cross-border traineeship. And cybersecurity is one of the fields that would like to attract more students. I think that we need now more concrete actions like that, not only from the side of the European Commission, but on the others. And we need to join our forces and to make really something more.
Mr. Ploss, where do you get your programmers from? All over the world?
Pretty much, yeah. So on the other side, I think maybe it sounded a little bit as if Germany, Europe isn't strong. There's a lot of people, a lot of expertise we have here. On the other side, when we look at young people, do you want to be part of a problem, or do you want to be part of a success story? So my point here is we have to think about how we can make cybersecurity something which is a winning part, not a threat. And therefore the question is, and this is I can give to the audience, if you do such products, if you think of such solutions, think about and communicate about the value of IT security in your products, and I'm pretty sure we will have many more people desiring to go and become. On the other side, we are now establishing studies for bachelor and masters for IT security. It's not done yet, but the right direction to do.
Well, I can access, we have one master cybersecurity, so please join.
And please think more about women. We need more women cyber experts. That's a huge potential all over Europe, and we need to do something more.
Mr. Schönbohm, one more thing. If you would run a company, and if you would find a data breach, that data has been lost, and someone is calling you up, and he will say, your data will be saved for $1 million. Would you pay?
No.
Should someone pay?
No. Why? Because you have the right backups, right? You have prepared yourself properly, then you don't have to pay. I mean, otherwise, organized crime is since 2009 earning more money with cybercrime than with drugs. More. And do we want to enhance it? Do we want to increase it? No, you should not pay. You should go to the police, make the report, call the BSI. I mean, we had the case at the Lucas Hospital in Neuss, where it was hacked and exactly everything was shut down. We supported them that after 2 weeks, they could ramp it up again. And I think this is how government should act, to support the companies, like also Infineon. We are working very close together also with the other ones. And then, no, you should not pay. You should pay Uber for using it, but not.
And if it's
the
sensitive consumer data?
No.
just don't do it.
If it is encrypted in your database, even if someone is using really the data, if it is encrypted, what can you do with the data? No, it cannot be used. So no, you should not pay. You should have the right security measures in place, and then you don't have the possibility to pay.
But this is an interesting point. This is very different to many other areas. Security will always be attacked. We always learn, there is always something new. What we have to be able, that we can establish security, that we can recover quickly. This is what Mr. Schönbohm talks about. This is nothing which you normally would put in your product, but we advocate that it is very easy, it is easy doable, then when there is a new attack, you can recover, get back your data, on the other, raise the wall again. And I think this is a completely different approach than we had with product development up to now. And this is relevant for software, it's relevant for hardware, and we have to think differently on this. This, I would say, updating capability is something which is a must, because many of our products are in the field for years. Infineon is thinking about quantum, I would say, security, quantum computing, because our products will be there when quantum computers come. So we have to think ahead of this. And maybe there are other topics where we have not thought of, and recovery is a must in this environment.
The funny thing is, this panel will be followed by someone who paid. Maybe he will tell us why. It's already a little bit more crowded than we started, and it's maybe, but maybe not our achievement. I don't know, but I'll thank you so much for this great panel. Thank you for listening.